Today on ZZZ Made Easy, we're starting off Spooky Month with Lucia. This video will help you understand the basics of Lucia's main mechanics, how you can build her, and some tips you can go into. This video is made in collaboration with Hoyoverse. Footage used is from the creator beta server, so sorry about no sound effects, and things are subject to change. Thank you Hoyoverse for this opportunity. Lucia is an S-rank Ether support from Spookshack. Version 2.3 will add new phases to the Rupture class, and all of them are going to want Lucia, who is the dedicated Rupture support. You'll see a lot of Monato and Yishun because that's all the Rupture agents we got at this time. Yidhari will join in the second half of 2.3. Lucia conjures up ethereals to fight and provides excellent sheer force and damage buffs to her allies while in her dream state. She introduces a new Ether Veil mechanic which acts sort of like an active field with benefits. One of the only sound effects enabled is for the Ether Veil activation. Lucia isn't too difficult to use in practice, but her kit is a bit complex under the hood. I first need to set the stage for some ongoing mechanics. Lucia's resource bar is her dream points. Her various moves can grant dream points and she starts the fight with 60 points. At 100 dream points, Lucia will enter the dream state, which is where all her buffing power kicks in. More on this in a bit. Lucia's attacks are divided into Whim and Harmony moves. These are all her moves that involve ethereals. In the dream state, Lucia is able to upgrade the weaker Whims into stronger Harmonies. Again, we'll come back to what all of this means. Lucia's basic attack string is a 5-part combo. The first 4 attacks are neither Whims nor Harmonies, only the final 5th basic is a Whim. When not in the dream state, Lucia's 5th basic will grant 40 dream points. Lucia's EX special, Symphony of the Reaper, Daybreak, costs 60 energy and is considered a Harmony. It grants 60 dream points. After the EX special, you can press basic attack to shortcut to Lucia's 5th basic Whim. This combo nets Lucia 100 dream points and is her bread and butter move to re-enter the dream state. Under the special skill category, Lucia has a few effects not specifically tied to the EX special. When any Harmony move is triggered, all squad members gain the Darkbreaker state for 20 seconds. In this state, allies gain a ludicrous 12 sheer force. That is nothing. Luckily, for every 200 points of Lucia's initial max HP, she will get an additional 7.4 sheer force added to this buff. The Darkbreaker buff will cap out at 900 sheer force if Lucia can reach 24,000 initial max HP. These values are for special level 12, so be sure to level it up. Darkbreaker is Lucia's main buff and can give 900 sheer force to all allies. Pan Yinhu at Mindscapes 6 can give a respectable 720 sheer force, but only to one ally. Naturally, as an S rank, Lucia is going to have a higher buff, and if you wanted to run double Rupture agents, then she's got the better pick for that. For newer players, it is very important to understand that sheer force is only useful for Rupture agents currently. It replaces the attack stat in the damage formula when calculating sheer damage. Only Rupture agents deal sheer damage, meaning Lucia's main buff is not going to affect the majority of the ZZZ cast. If you want to use Lucia, you're basically locked into running a Rupture team. Lucia's additional ability is tied to Darkbreaker and requires a Rupture or Stun agent. Along the sheer force buff, Darkbreaker adds 30% crit damage as well. Very simple, and you should always be using Lucia with a Rupture agent anyway. For Lucia's core passive, it has 3 parts. When Lucia gains 100 dream points, she enters the dream state. When this occurs, Lucia triggers a quick assist and activates Ether Veil Wellspring. Ether Veil is a new comic mechanic signaled by the glowy outer edge of the screen and the bell chime. We could see different Ether Veils in the future, but for now, for Lucia and Yidhari, they both activate Ether Veil Wellspring. While Wellspring is active, the entire squad's max HP increases by 5% for 40 seconds. More HP means more sheer force for Rupture agents. While Lucia wants to build HP, her sheer force buff only counts initial max HP. The Ether Veil bonus will not improve her buff. Ether Veil can actually last for up to 300 seconds if you extend the timer. One way to do this comes from the EX Special's description. If Lucia activates her EX Special while in the dream state and under Ether Veil, she increases the duration by 16 seconds. Generally speaking, Lucia will be re-entering the dream state before the initial 40 seconds are up. You don't really have to worry too much about getting the time extension. For the second part of the core passive, while in the dream state, Lucia's Whim attacks now consume 25 dream points and are upgraded to Harmony. This upgrade will trigger the Darkbreaker buff from the EX special, and all upgraded Whims get a stronger Harmony damage multiplier. You can see these values in the stats page. Another way to consume dream points is when one of Lucia's allies hit an enemy. This consumes 25 dream points, and Lucia does a Harmony Aftershock attack. After Lucia triggers a Whim to Harmony upgrade or an Aftershock, the Aftershock move will go on an 8-second cooldown. First things first, Lucia's Harmony Aftershocks deal the most amount of damage per dream point consumption, but go on a cooldown after use. Second, Lucia has 3 different types of Aftershock moves. If you look closely, the Aftershock animations are Lucia's other on-field Whim moves using ethereals. The 3 types are Basic Attack, Quick Assist, and the regular special. If you check the stats page, each of these moves will have damage multipliers for Whim, their Harmony upgrade, and then their Aftershock versions. The 3 Aftershock types all have the same damage multiplier. This does mean for maximum damage, you want to upgrade Lucia's corresponding Basic Attack, Assist, and Special Attack skills. For another note, the Aftershocks take on the properties of each move type. If something were to buff Lucia's Basic Attack damage, then that will apply to the Basic Attack Aftershock. Now that we know Lucia can upgrade Whims into Harmonies, and she has a stronger Harmony Aftershock, we can talk about her extra HP scaling damage bonus. This effect is from the EX special. When any Harmony deals damage, Lucia increases the final base damage by an additional 70% of her max HP. Just to be clear, Lucia's moves still scale with attack. The base damage formula is attack times the damage multiplier. What this effect does is add 70% of Lucia's max HP to the end. This gets us a new final base damage number that is going to get multiplied by all the other bonuses. While Lucia mainly builds HP for her sheer force buff, she will at least be compensated with some extra damage here. For the third part of the core passive, when Lucia triggers a Whim upgrade or an Aftershock, she gives everyone the Dreamer's Nursery Rhyme state. This buff simply gives 20% damage for 12 seconds. Since Lucia can trigger her Aftershock every 8 seconds, you should be able to keep Dreamer's Nursery Rhyme up the entire fight. The only obstacle is running out of dream points. When you run out of dream points or leave the Ether Veil, Lucia exits the dream state. This isn't going to end the 20% damage buff, but now it's going to be that 12-second timer ticking down. I know that was a lot of info, so let's review Lucia's game plan. First, she needs to gain 100 dream points with various moves such as EX Special or the 5th basic. Doing so will trigger 3 things. Lucia enters the dream state, she activates Ether Veil for 40 seconds, and triggers a quick assist. You can swap out safely because Lucia can do her Harmony Aftershocks from off-field. This consumes 25 dream points, but refreshes the Dreamer's Nursery Rhyme 20% damage buff. Any Harmony also triggers the Darkbreaker state. That will grant up to 900 sheer force, and you can tack on 30% crit damage via Lucia's additional ability. As long as you keep attacking, Lucia will do her 4 Aftershocks within 24 seconds. Add a couple seconds because we're not robots. You want to at least use them all within 40 seconds, otherwise the Ether Veil will end and Lucia will exit the dream state. Normally, Lucia should run out of dream points completely. You cannot gain more dream points until you're out of the dream state. The easiest way to get back into the dream state is to do the EX special into 5th basic combo. This restarts Lucia's buffing and attacking loop. Most of Lucia's kit doesn't require her to enter combat for long, but let's go through her other Harmony attacks. Lucia has the normal defensive assist, which costs 2 assist points against big boss attacks. As a trade-off, Lucia's assist follow-up is a Harmony and grants 40 dream points. Once Lucia runs out of dream points, you can perfect assist her in to do the follow-up attack for 40 points. Combo with the EX special for 60 points and you're back in the dream state. Lucia's chain attack is another Harmony move that grants 40 dream points. If you need to refresh the dream state, you can once again follow up with EX special. Lucia's ultimate is a bit more involved. This Harmony summons a big ethereal and Lucia can ride it for 3 seconds if you hold a movement direction. While charging, Lucia gains increased anti-interrupt level, 40% damage reduction, and can miraculously survive a fatal blow with 1 HP. To end the charge, you need to release the movement direction and the ethereal will land a big smash. If you just want Lucia to attack immediately, do not hold any movement direction after the ult animation. A couple things are going to happen during Lucia's ultimate. When you land the actual ethereal attack, she triggers a quick assist. The ultimate will leave behind a Starlight Convergence pool for 8 seconds. While in this pool, the active agent recovers HP equal to 1.6% of Lucia's max HP per second. This effect lingers for 4 seconds after leaving the pool, but it will end immediately if you swap out. Now we still don't really have a dedicated super hardcore healer, but Lucia will help Monato and Yidhari, who both utilize HP for extra damage. The ultimate will do a couple more things. If not in the dream state, Lucia will gain 100 dream points to enter immediately. If she was in the dream state, then the next time Lucia exits this state, she will immediately gain 100 dream points to re-enter automatically. Last, if in the dream state and Ether Veil is active, extend the duration by 32 seconds. To summarize, Lucia's ultimate triggers a quick assist, leaves behind a healing pool, and extends Ether Veil if it's active. Lucia will enter the dream state immediately or re-enter it automatically after the current one ends. Let's do a rundown of how to use Lucia in battle. She has 2 main openers. If you start with energy, you can EX special to enter the dream state immediately. If not, you can do a full basic attack chain. At least in Deadly Assault, you often have time to land the 5th basic, which grants 40 dream points. That's enough to enter the dream state. In Deadly Assault, a full basic attack combo also gives Lucia 60 energy. I like to spend that on the EX special before quick assisting out. Even though she's already in the dream state, this will activate Lucia's main 4-piece drive descent, Moonlight Lullaby, 18% damage for the team for 25 seconds. Moonlight Lullaby's 25-second timer matches the general cadence of Lucia's rotation. Once in the dream state, our goal isn't really to consume all the dream points as fast as possible. Lucia consumes dream points to upgrade her Whims or proc her Aftershocks. These are both harmony moves, and thus this is how Lucia refreshes her Darkbreaker and Dreamer's Nursery Rhyme buffs. Due to the 8-second cooldown, Lucia in theory can do 4 Aftershocks in 24 seconds. This will consume 100 dream points exiting the dream state. Lucia's buffs will not disappear, but when this happens, you want to bring Lucia in shortly after. Use the EX Special plus 5th basic combo, Defensive Assist plus EX Special, or just Ultimate to get back into the dream state. As long as you use EX Special or Ultimate, that will also refresh Moonlight Lullaby. Now the stun phase can get a little tricky for Lucia if you aren't careful. If Lucia runs out of dream points, you can have her go last in the chain attack, then EX Special. That will trigger Quick Assist. If you want to do double chain attacks with your DPS agent though, then this will not work. Now in situations where Lucia's EX Special triggers the chain attack sequence, then you cannot do the 5th basic follow-up to get dream points without awkwardly swapping Lucia back in. One way to avoid this is playing with manual chain attacks on. With this setting, you can hold EX Special to not trigger the stun. This allows you to do Lucia's 5th basic attack shortcut. That will get her the last 40 dream points, re-enter the dream state, and will start the chain attack sequence. Using Ultimate before a chain attack is another good idea. This can get the 100 dream points instantly or will ensure Lucia refreshes her dream state after it ends. You won't have to worry for the rest of the DPS time. Another benefit is that Lucia leaves her Starlight Convergence healing pool. For Minato and Yidhari, they can recover HP while they do their chain attacks and ultimates. The healing lingers even though Minato only briefly passes through the pool sometimes. This will be a great synergy for the Spook Shack Rupture teams. As we head into the build section, a review on what skills to level for Lucia. If you aren't gonna max every single skill, then I would suggest at least taking the special attack to level 12. That determines Lucia's sheer force buff. For the ultimate, level 11 will lower the healing per second, but it's not a huge loss. When it comes to Lucia's Aftershocks, the 3 different types all have the same damage multiplier, but you have to level up their separate skill types. For basic attack, special, and assist skills, just don't leave these skills at level 1 if you want to squeeze out more damage. For stats to focus on, Lucia needs 24,000 initial max HP to max out Darkbreaker's 900 sheer force buff. At level 60, Lucia will need plus 158% HP from other sources. The standard builds will utilize triple 30% HP main stat drive this in partitions 4, 5, and 6. With 2 Presumed Quay Tails, you get another 10%, so in total that's 100% HP already. Lucia's signature comes with another 30% HP, meaning you need to farm about 9 to 10 HP substats on your disc. This won't be super easy since you only get % HP substats on your partition 1, 2, and 3 discs with this setup. Luckily, flat HP can be useful for once. Flat HP substats equals slightly less than half a % HP substat. Now without the signature, or if you want to use the signature W engine with a double % HP drive to set up, then you need a pretty high 19 to 28% HP substats. For most people, this will not be possible. If you're looking for a good goal to shoot for in terms of farming, then 22,000 max HP is doable without Lucia's signature. That's around 11% HP substats, but if you're a little short, you're still going to get around an 800 sheer force buff. That's fine. As a reminder, Lucia's Ether Veil grants 5% max HP to the team. That is another way she will directly boost your Rupture agent's sheer force as well. For W engines, Lucia's signature is Dreamlit Hearth. It's the only A or S rank option to grant 30% HP as a main stat, and Lucia gets an extra 0.4 energy regen per second in combat. If the equipper activates Ether Veil, all allies gain 25% extra damage and 15% max HP for 45 seconds. As mentioned, to max out Lucia's sheer force buff, you probably need Dreamlit Hearth. Lucia can easily refresh her Ether Veil within 45 seconds, and with her Dreamer's Nursery Rhyme buff, Lucia can now give 45% damage bonuses. With Ether Veil Wellspring, she also gives 20% max HP total, another direct sheer force buff for Rupture agents. The extra energy regen here is important. With Lucia's Journal drive to set up, she's going to have enough AR to EX special every 25 seconds at least. For For other options, Lucia isn't a bad user of Rina's Reaping Cradle. She is mostly off-field, so she'll get the extra energy regen, and Lucia's Aftershocks can trigger the % damage buff occasionally. For A-rank options, Lucia can't proc the Vault's passive as often. It requires an EX Special Chain Attacker ultimate. Lucia's 3 Aftershock types are none of these. For other A-ranks, Kaboom is perfectly fine even though the Rupture agents don't get the full value of attack buffs. Similar to Weeping Cradle, Lucia's Aftershocks can trigger the Battle Pass Unfeathered Game Balls passive. You must hit Ether weak foes, but more crit is always nice. I had some good success using Game Ball against the Ether weak Miasmic Breeze. The 50% ER main stats on these 3 W engines will also be enough for Lucia's EX Special needs. Now I wouldn't recommend it, but there is actually a % HP non-signature W engine. That is the B rank Reverb Mark III. 20% HP main stat, extra team attack on chain attacks or ultimates. This is better than nothing, but the lack of energy regen will hurt. We've kinda already gone through most of our drive to setup. Even with Lucia's signature, you may want to go all % HP main stats to max out the Sheer Force buff. That will include 2-piece Yonkoi Tails. While you definitely can use 2-piece Swing Jazz or Energy Regen in Partition 6, Lucia has enough Energy Regen if you use one of the W engines we discussed. Lucia will also get 20% ER via Moonlight Lullaby. The 4-piece grants that 18% damage on EX Special or Ultimate for 25 seconds. It's a great generalist support set, and as we discussed, Lucia naturally uses EX Special around 25 to 30 seconds. With the core passive, Lucia will contribute 38% bonus damage to the team. If you have her signature, that will go up to 63% total. Generally speaking, Lucia can add a lot of % damage bonuses to her allies, pairs nicely with her Sheer Force, HP, and crit damage buffs for basically any Rupture agents. For teams, Lucia is pretty much locked into Rupture pairing, seeing as how so far only Rupture agents benefit from Sheer Force and the extra HP. For most Rupture teams, you can run a Stunner third ally. That spot is flexible though, like if you wanted to run double Rupture or a defense agent, then that's fine too. As of version 2.3, we only have 3 Rupture agents: Yixuan, Monato, who is available with Lucia, and then Yidhari, who will arrive in the second half. I haven't tried Yidhari at all as of this video, so I'm not going to comment much more, but 2.3 is the Spook Shack Rupture patch. The S-rank Rupture agent and the S-rank Rupture support will go together nicely. Naturally, Lucia will also work with Yixuan just fine. Yixuan doesn't really need extra healing, but Lucia grants more Sheer Force than Panyin Hu and can run an easy to use drive disc buffing set. As an S-rank, it's pretty much expected of Lucia to be the stronger Sheer Force buffer. Now for some other bonuses, you get double Ether agents for maximum damage on Ether weak foes. Lucia can also use Unfeathered Game Ball to its max potential. Last, Monato is the new A-rank Rupture agent, and in version 2.3, everyone can get a free copy. You'll have a Rupture team to play, although as an A-rank damage dealer, Monato does need some extra support. Unlike Yixuan, Monato consumes HP for extra damage, so Lucia's extra HP and healing are appreciated. In this gameplay, I'm using an M2 to M3 Monato, and he did pretty well, at least for my expectations. If you want to main Monato, it's in your best interest to get the strongest S-rank supports for him. He has a higher rate up on Lucia's banner, so naturally, you should be able to get some Mindscapes too. For stun options, Jifufu is really fitting for our Rupture trio. Off-field stuns with crit damage, chain attack, and ultimate buffs. She also gives a 4,000 decibel limit, and Rupture agents get a 300 decibel refund on ult cast. With Jifufu, you can usually ult in back-to-back stun phases much more consistently. Another benefit is that Jifufu does an off-field chain attack, and that refunds 1 assist point. It's really good against some of these defensive assist gimmicks on these new bosses. Senior Fufu will be rerunning in the second half of 2.3 with Yidhari. For other stunners, I assume Lycon should work with Yidhari. Monato can use Kaleido for fire weak bosses, and Pulchra is another agent whose addition ability does work with Rupture. Sadly, this only matters if you M6 Pulchra, but she's an A-rank alternative. In regards to Trigger, she can activate her addition ability, and her signature's Defense Shred doesn't benefit Rupture agents. Despite that, I still found her always active stun damage multiplier quite effective. She worked well with Yixuan, and does alright with Monato too. One of those cases where something seems kinda off, but it works out decently. Last, even though Lucia is the upgrade technically, you can stack Sheer Force buffs with Panyin Hu. If you don't have one of the better supports, this team is honestly not bad, even for Monato. The 2 buffers barely take up any field time, and now you have 2 sources of healing. Let's briefly go over Lucia's Mindscapes. For M1, in the Dreamer's Nursery Rhyme state, attacks ignore 18% all attribute res, and get 5% increased decibel generation rate. For each Whim upgrade Lucia does, gain 1 stack of Echo up to 4 times. After the Dreamer's Nursery Rhyme state ends, Lucia can consume 1 Echo to reapply the buff to all squad members. M1 adds general attribute res shred and more decibel generation. The echo effect is mostly useful if you're going to actively use Lucia on field instead of spreading out her aftershocks every 8 seconds. For M2, while Ether Veil is active, Lucia's Harmony moves deal 15% more damage. For allies with Darkbreaker, and while Ether Veil is active, they gain 15% more sheer damage. Straightforward damage increases for Lucia and her Rupture allies. For M4, when Ether Veil is activated or extended, grant squad members 100 decibels. This effect can happen once every 15 seconds. Flat decibel gain on top of Lucia's M1 generation buff every time you refresh Ether Veil. Reminder, you can extend the duration with EX Special and Ultimate if you're in the Dream state already. Now for Mindscapes 6, when Lucia is inside Ether Veil, her attack increases by 2% of her initial max HP. Harmony moves now always crit, and they gain 30% crit damage. M6 is basically the damage / DPS Mindscape for the support. On top the 70% HP flat damage bonus, Lucia now gets more attack based on her HP as well. Since she builds almost full HP, Lucia gets 100% crit rate on Harmony moves. If you want to use Lucia on field for damage, then M6 is obviously made for that, and this makes the M1 Echo Stacks more valuable since Lucia will burn through her Dream Points. For cheaper investment, M1's Attribute Res Shred and Decibel Generation buffs are rare effects. The technically cheapest way to help Lucia out will be with her Signature, the only percent HP main stat option that's not a B rank. It also buffs up your Rupture agents with more damage and max HP buffs. For the after party tips section, we still have a few of Lucia's Whim attacks. Lucia's regular special is a quick ethereal / whim. It can grant 20 dream points, but there's a 5-second cooldown on this dream point recovery. Basically, you can't spam it 5 times back to back. Lucia's dodge counter is another whim that grants 20 dream points. This also abides by the 5-second cooldown. The quick assist uses the same animation as the dodge counter. Not surprising then that it also grants 20 dream points and has a 5-second cooldown. For situations where you do not have energy for EX Special, Lucia can use these 3 on-field whims to gain dream points. The last whim is her 5th basic attack from earlier. These 4 moves are the ones that can be upgraded into harmonies at the cost of dream points. If you wanted to use Lucia for damage, then her highest damage upgrades are her 5th basic attack and the dodge counter. Despite these whim upgrades, Lucia's Aftershocks still deal the most damage per dream point consumption. Now the last move in Lucia's kit is her dash attack. Not a particularly useful move, but kinda interesting that it is a ranged attack if you start it from far away. The dash attack and dodge counter lead into Lucia's 2nd basic attack. Despite the animation, Lucia does not have iframes on this vanishing trick. For actual iframes, Lucia's EX Special into 5th basic combo seems to be perfectly safe. The 5th basic attack has iframes if done normally, although Lucia is vulnerable before she touches the ground. Just to showcase because it's so unique, Lucia's ultimate only has damage reduction if you're doing the charge. When you release to do the actual smash attack, then Lucia is invulnerable like normal. The range on the ultimate attack is fairly big. If you want the pull closer to the enemy though, then you may want to hold a direction for a tiny bit before releasing. Lucia has pretty good AoE and grouping capabilities. In sheer defense, you start with enough energy to EX Special. If you follow up with the 5th basic attack, Lucia will pull small mobs to the center. From what I can tell, the normal 5th basic does not have this grouping capability. It has to be the upgraded Harmony version. Another way to group enemies is with Lucia's chain attack. If you got a stunner on your team and a lot of enemies, then she'll bring them all together. Lucia is going to be a bit more niche than the other S-rank supports, but if you like any of the 3 Rupture agents, she will be the S-rank upgrade over Pawnee and Hoot. Her buffing kit is a little complicated at a glance, but Lucia is hands-off for the most part. Her Aftershocks are meant to refresh her buffs periodically, and once she's out of dream points, that's your signal to bring her back in. I can't say much about Ether Veil, but if it's a mechanic that's gonna stick around, then Lucia can activate it. The only other Rupture agent with Ether Veil is Idhari. Monato and Yishuan do not have it, so Lucia can be the Ether Veil source on those teams. That's all I have to say about Lucia. Have fun with all her wacky ethereal moves, and I will see you in the next video.